cooking today, and what is the story behind it?
There's not really much of a story behind this dish. Today we're just doing hamburgers with French fries. I think I'm just mixing different elements. I've been learning lately during the summer. I've always been very passionate about food, and this summer I had a lot of time. I think we all had a lot of time due to quarantine. And I guess my thing to spend the time was just learning more about food. Um, and I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos, learning from a lot of very good YouTubers, and I'm just mixing a lot of the things I've learned. The main guy that like inspired me for this one, more not only inspired me but like actually helped me a lot because it's basically most of his recipe is Marcos Lizacere with La Chancho y los 20. Like it's an amazing, awesome YouTube channel that really explains you the why of the food. Then there's a couple onion rings. I researched on a good recipe that I think works. I've tried it before. The French fries, the method is something I learned from a Peruvian chef. The boiling and double frying, so they're extra crispy. Then there's chimichurri that also learned through multiple recipes, multiple guys, and I kind of like also talking to friends back home that also like cooking, kind of like came into having that recipe.
What does food mean to you?
I feel like food has very different meanings for everyone, and I think it has more than just one meaning for myself. There's the part that is just home. I'm from Peru, and back home, just food is such an essential part of our culture, of who we are, of our identity. Um, it's something that you will experience at home. It's something you'll experience at a very high standard, and around the restaurants at Lima and the whole country. So I guess like it started with my grandma when I was like 10 years, 9 years old. I'll go with her to the market. I'll help her with the groceries. I will learn about her suppliers, all those kind of things. And that's when I really started liking about like the process. So I think that's one of the things of the meanings of food is the process that there's behind it. You got to go buy. You need to know what you're buying, why you're buying it, why it's important, and where to buy it, and those kind of things. And I like things that have a process. Then, for example, and I think another thing would just be sharing with people. I think that's like one of the things I really like about food. That is something that you can share. And then I think like honestly, the last one is just I like perfection. I like trying to achieve perfection. I like that I have something to improve every time I try a new like a dish. I don't think I've ever been satisfied or completely satisfied with like one meal I have prepared. I always want more, and I really like that challenge of wanting more. And I do believe like in a certain way like cooking means art, and it also means science. It also means trying to make it perfect. It's not all like I don't like to think cooking all about feeling and all about art. There's a little bit of science. There's a little bit of methodology that needs to be behind it, and I really like that.
I want to dive deeper into like what do you feel when you cook?
It really depends. The situation. You know, when you have like 10 friends waiting for you outside, you can feel pretty desperate. But I guess like my favorite state of mine when I'm cooking is just being relaxed. Kind of like I don't like talking to people when I'm cooking. I've had many times where like people come and be like they're starting to try to have a conversation with me, and like I try to kindly, be like, no, thank you. Right now I'm concentrated because that's the state of mind I like when I'm cooking. I like to be concentrated. I like to be with myself. I like to be reflecting while I cook. I wanted to be concentrated because I also really care about achievement and the process and making sure that all the ingredients are on the right point, that the measurements are on the right point. And for that, you need concentration. You need to be 100% dedicated to what you're doing. So yeah, that's how I like feeling in the zone. I like being 100% committed to what I'm doing. and not be, you know, thinking about anything else.
You did talk about your upbringing a bit, about, you know, being in Peru and how that shaped a lot of how you see food. And you also talked about your grandmother. So is your grandmother the person who inspired you to start cooking, or?
Honestly, like there's been a lot of different points in my life where I have taken cooking more seriously or less seriously. It definitely started with my grandma. She used to cook for 20, 25 people for like our family dinners and those kind of things. And I was always super impressed. And as I said, like I would go to the market with her, and like I feel like that's where it really started. It really felt like home. Like I wouldn't call it the most because of course Peru, like it's an underdeveloped country, has a lot to do. But I kind of love the markets of my underdeveloped country, you know? Like it's really nice. Like I feel like there's a special vibe to it. I feel like the treatment that you receive is really nice. Like once you get to know who are the people that are supplying the products, I really like that. I don't know, it's like something about like, you know, the Peruvian market that I really like. So we used to go to the Salamanca market. It was not a big one. But then, like, of course, like, I cannot only say that my grandma was the only inspiration. It was then, to be completely honest, after watching Ratatouille, like, I just really liked the movie. And the reason why I really liked the movie, like, I didn't realize when I was a kid, but, like, reflecting on it when I'm, like, a little bit older, is, I was talking, like, I like process, I like perfection. And that's what Remy shows throughout the movie. He likes perfection, he likes dedication, like, that, like, I connected to the values of the movie, which is you can do better, and you can always do better, and you can always like look for something a little bit better. Mm-hmm. So that was like definitely I think another inspiration. And like when I saw a movie, I didn't know anything about cooking, and I remember the next day I was just like, I want to cook. So I grabbed bread, tomato, and cheese, and I put it in a pan, and I put oregano and olive oil, and that was my masterpiece. And like that was the first thing I did when I was like 11, 10 right? But then like, you know, like I was like, I want to do better. Like I know that this is nothing. So I started by doing eggs. I think like if you're gonna start cooking, like if you've never cooked in your life before, start with eggs. I think it's such a like hard thing to do well. I mean, we were like, oh yeah, of course I can fry an egg. Can you fry an egg? Like, can you really fry an egg? Can you really do scrambled eggs? Do you really, like, because that's the point that, like, yes, anyone can scramble eggs. Of course anyone can, like, yes, like, it's like for 3 years old. Mm-hmm. Can you truly, though, like, see the process of scrambling an egg? And, like, what ingredients are you adding? How much are you scrambling? If you like, if you mix it a little bit more, is it gonna change the product? What happens if I add a little bit of milk? What happens if I don't use the milk? What happens if I put a little mustard? What happens if I change the type of oil? Like, there's so many things that can vary inside an egg. What happens if I put onions, vegetables? There's so many things you can do with eggs. So that was the next step. And then I come from a very privileged family. So we had maids around in the house that did most of the cooking. And I loved hanging out with them. Honestly, like during my summer, I would spend most of the time with them. So, you know, it was like 12 p.m. and I was like, what are you doing? It's like, oh, I'm cooking lunch. And I was like, can I help? And that's when my technique really started developing. That's like, this is how you grab a knife. This is how you cook. Like, this is how you do this. It was with medium. That was like when I started. And then with Isabel, she really like taught me how to grab a knife, how to know when the rice is ready, the measurements to use, how to feel when something's cooked. And like, because that's the thing, like now I use mostly thermometers on those kind of things, but like back home it's like you just use your senses. You know, like what are you gonna use a thermometer for? Like that's, you know. So yeah, like she really helped me develop those senses, so I'm very grateful for that too. And then after that, I wanted more. And I was obsessed when I was 15, 16, I was obsessed with doing things from scratch. So I was like, okay, I want to do pizza from scratch. I want to do, I remember I think I did empanadas from scratch. And like, of course, like one of the main things that from scratch is things that have dough, right? Like, today we're doing burgers from scratch. We're doing the dough. So those kind of things I really enjoy because I am in control of the entire process, and I like that. I like being in control of the entire process of the cooking.
You haven't really mentioned cooking Peruvian food, but what is Peruvian food like, and is it something that you enjoy cooking?
That's such a hard question to answer. Every time that they ask me this question, I like saying that Peruvian food has so many different variations. So like I like to divide it in 4 parts. Food that comes from the coast, food that comes from the highlands, food that comes from the jungle, and from the Amazon, and finally the mixtures, like we would call mistura, right? So from the coast, it will be like when I think food from the coast, I think about fish, freshness. I think about ceviche. I think about like just like more seafood because of course you're next to the sea. And then I also like, because Lima's in the coast is part of the capital, I also think about more kind of like high end cuisine and those kind of things. Then if I think of the highlands, I think more about earth, and I think more about potatoes, the ajís, more about the harvest process, and those kind of things. And then jungle is more about like fruits, and of course there's also like fish from the rivers, and it's a little bit more, I think, like untouched in a way. I feel like I don't want to pretend I know a lot about Amazon food because I don't. And the few I know is that I think it's a little more untouched, and I've seen a lot of restaurants trying to bring some of the elements from the Amazon to the capital, which I think is really good. But I guess like my relationship with Peruvian food, kind of going back more to your question, is I think like there's two big things that like really changed how I see. One is that when I arrived to Vancouver, I remember people being like defining quality if something's authentic. Oh my god, like it's not authentic. And I remember being like, and what? What has that anything to do? Because my entire life in Peru, we had a lot of Chinese immigration, we have a lot of Japanese immigration, we have some Arab immigration, and all those elements have contributed to the development of the cuisine in a positive way. Like chifa is a Chinese Peruvian fusion. Nikkei is the Japanese Peruvian fusion, and etc., etc., etc. And those are positive, and they're not authentic, and they're good. And this is one of the main reasons why we are well known for food. So I think that was one of the main things. Like kind of like I feel exploring and not like, of course you need to be loyal to your technique and learning the technique and the principles and the base of dishes and a certain like kind of food, but you need to explore. You need to do fusion, mistura, right? You need to go outside of your comfort zone. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the main things when I think of Peruvian food, is trying new things and always be looking for more and new flavors and new mixtures and new taste, new things to taste and those kind of things. That's what I think when I think about Peruvian food. An endless journey for new flavors and new dishes and new plates and new variations. I guess like the first Peruvian dish I ever cooked was lomo saltado, because like it's one of the things that a lot of people like back home, which uses some Chinese ingredients, like soy sauce, and you can use a little bit of oyster sauce. I like using a little bit of oyster sauce there. So I the first time I cooked it, I was actually in the UK, and I literally watched a couple YouTube videos. I called my mom, then I called my grandma, and I kind of like grabbed the elements that I thought fitted best for my way of cooking, and then I cooked for 15 people. It was the first time I cooked lomo saltado. I cooked for 15 people. It was really good. I remember there was this guy that was like, I don't want to try it, like I'm full, and then I was like, just have a bite of the beef, and then he finished the plate, and I remember being so happy that day. and then it's been 6 years since that day, and like I can see how my technique has progressed so much. I really wish I could go back in time and redo it. But yeah, I think that's the biggest Peruvian dish, and I love making ceviche as well. And papa rellena I think is really fun too. Papa la huancaína is something that I spent a lot of time doing. What else have I done? Arroz con pollo, I really like doing that.
And so, well, you talked a lot about like your progress and your journey, but now, what would you call yourself, or like where are you now with your experience with cooking?
Like, if you ever heard about like the learning curve experience, I think that's how it's called. Like, first you learn, and then you think you know everything, and then the more you know, you realize you know nothing. I am at that point when I'm realizing, like this summer I realized how little I know. I mean, I wouldn't call myself a good chef yet. Like, of course, like for some of my friends, I'm like really good, and like, oh my god, Bruno cooks really well. But like, I know I have so much to learn, and like I'm 21, you know. I still don't have all the materials that I want. I still haven't tried so many things I want to try. I'm just starting to be better with bread. That's a journey that I started this year. Meat, I got really passionate about grilling and meat in general the last 3 years. That's something that I really feel more comfortable. I know how it's gonna come out, and I am sure about myself when I'm cooking meat. Like beef. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I have so much to learn.
And what point is it that you'll reach where you're just like, you know what? I'm good. Like, sure, I can learn more, but I'm actually very happy with where I am.
I really hope that point never arrives. I really hope so. I really hope that I'm never satisfied with myself enough. I know that sounds horrible, but like when I say I'm like, because some people think like, oh, you're not satisfied with yourself, like that does feel horrible. Not for me. For me, it's kind of like a motivation to be better and to keep trying and to do it again and again and again. And like, I enjoy the process of doing again. That's what brings me. It's not the end. It's not like today. Like when we finish cooking the burger, it's not gonna be the burger. It's not gonna be me eating the burger. That's not what brings me joy. Like it does bring me joy, but it's not what brings me the majority of the joy when I'm cooking. The process is what gives me that, and that's why I really hope that until the last day I feel like I have something new to learn. One of my dreams is to open a restaurant one day. I don't think I want to be in the kitchen. I think I want to be more on the administrative side. I study economics. I am doing a master's in business too. So I want to use those skills. And I think of course I want to like be part of the process in the kitchen. I want to know what's happening. I want to have knowledge of the decisions that are being taken and why. But I don't think that that's exactly where I want to be. I think I want to be more behind the scenes, helping the restaurants thrive. I think like I would really like to bring to Peru more of a grilling culture. I believe we have a terrible one. Like, I don't know, I feel like back home people know lomo fino, and that's the tenderloin, and that's it. And they don't even know where it comes from. Like, I hate that that's the case, and I hate that that's our scope. And like, people will be like, no, why would I do a ribeye at home? Why wouldn't you do a ribeye at home? Why wouldn't you try it? Like, I don't know. I really hope that I can bring back home that grilling culture. It's really hard because beef is definitely not one of our main products. Honestly, if I have the chance to do something here in Vancouver that is related to Peruvian food, I think I'll be very happy to. Mm-hmm. So yeah, those are kind of like my goals. I wouldn't call my end goals because once you're there, I hope there's a new one. But yeah, I guess like that's the next step. I think like different people have different philosophies of life, and you need to look for whatever makes you feel good with yourself. I think that's very important. I don't think that there's one way of doing things. That's something that you still have to apply in the kitchen. There's not one way of doing things, and I think that also applies in life. There's not one way of doing things.
What is one meal you love? Like you love this meal, like all of its elements and everything, but you would never, ever try to cook it. Like you'd be like, oh no, I would not do that.
That's a hard question. I think I would try everything that is savory. I'm not the best at baking. That's not my area. That's my sister's area. Because my other grandma, so the first grandma I was talking about, she's mostly savory food. And then my other grandma, she was actually a professional baker. She made my parents' wedding cake 13 stores. Like 13 floors. I don't know how you call it. It's crazy, and like she's like 150. Like she's super small.
So you're saying like 150 years old.
No, what is that in feet? 5'5"?
No, not even.
Less than that. Oh, you do the conversion. And so like yeah, and that's where my sister is more attached to. I was more attached to the other side. Mm-hmm. And honestly, like I've tried baking things. I just don't feel. I don't get as much joy as I get it from doing savory things. That's pretty much it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's definitely like some cakes that I would never dare to try. Mm-hmm. Like my sister's cheesecake. That's for her. I wouldn't dare to. Mm-hmm. That's her realm, mm-hmm. you know.
And so, what is one meal now that you are sort of like eyeing, and you're just like, oh yeah, I kind of want to do you next. Like I want to try making you or making my own version of you.
I mean, like in general, food-wise, I'm doing that with bread. I just cooked my third sourdough bread yesterday, 2 days ago. So like, there's so many batch variations I want to try before I'm like, oh, I can start giving this as gifts. Because I think it's really nice to give a sourdough bread as a gift. I think it's a really nice present. So I really want to get good at that. But meal-wise, you know, like a dish, like something that you can actually eat at dinner or lunch. What's next? I want to try... what do I want to try next? Oh. I mean... Okay, there's two. You know, it just took me a second, but I know I have them. There's carbonara, and then there is beef Wellington. Those are the two that I really want to perfection next. Yeah, those are the ones that I've been really hoping that I can try. My name is Bruno. I'm a 4th year econ student, and cooking for me is enjoying the process.